Namaste and welcome, beloved mighty companions. From Jesus to Jesus. And I thank you for joining us. This is a very deep dive with Jesus into sexuality. And for our Spanish beloveds, it is translated. We just need to do a little bit of proofing on it. Make sure that it's correct. And we covered a little bit of this last night. And we will continue hearing what Jesus has to say about it. And this is just an invitation, really. As with everything, he just invites us to look deeply and to discover for ourselves. There's no one outside of ourselves. There's just love, whole and complete, exactly as it is now. And then an idea arises that it's not love, a desired experience for anything except infinite love. And so what Jesus is providing by this deep look, as he says in the Urtext, sexuality is something that a miracle worker must understand. Must. He didn't say maybe. He said must. And then as we go deep to look at this, if the prayer is to go as quickly as possible, transcending a personal identity, then we have to be willing to look where he guides us. It's just a look to see what's true. That's all. And that's really the question. Are we willing to see what's true? Because the ego runs. It runs and runs and runs. It runs away from actual looking through thoughts, through feelings, through emotions, and diversionary activities. So we can start with the light of divine being and see if the light knows what attraction is. It's the light, infinite light of joy. Does infinite joy, is it attracted to anything? It is everything. In order for attraction to occur, there has to be another. A play in consciousness that there's an other outside. So this is why this is such a valuable topic to explore with him and just ask him, just curiosity. We have to find out what we're attracted to. And then Heidi sent me, well, what about repulsion to sex? It's the play of consciousness is unlimited seeming through the desire to experience it. Play of attraction and repulsion. It's still seeing an object seeming in form and then having a response to it, either a push away or a pull or push. It's like there's no presence. See that infinite light, does it push or pull? Is it attracted? It's everything. In order to repel or push away, which is the ego's plan to push love out of awareness, there has to be a push, which the light doesn't know what a push is. So the play is to use sensory experience. I see a body over there. I feel attracted to it. I want an objective experience with that body. That's all it can be. I desire an experience of feeling as though an object, quote unquote, outside of myself is attractive or repels. If there's no one outside of us in the light of divine being, is anyone outside of us? Then who's out there we're going to have sex with? We have to ask that question. What exactly is happening here in the play of consciousness? And is this a decision in mind to maintain a sense of body identification? You can ask Jesus. Is sexuality an attempt to maintain body identification? You can see this is a bastion of the play in consciousness. In consciousness that's playing fragmented. It wants to play like they're parts and pieces of the whole. Consciousness is unified. It's a misperception that it's not containing all the parts. It's actually a holographic, if you could consider it that. It's a hologram that contains the totality. There are no parts to consciousness. But it plays, it will play and pretend separation. It's the game of separation. So he's just showing us how separation plays in consciousness through the decision to have attraction and repulsion and the desire for pleasure and pain. And as we were talking about last night, as far as I know, there's not a way to have a sexual encounter without some kind of pleasure or pain involved. It can involve pain too. And as Jesus says in the Course, bodies cannot join. In the light of divine being, honesty of God, can bodies join? This is what the ego will defend. So we'll just see how the ego defends this as experience. Well, as he said in reading the book, you can just see how you feel when we're reading the chapter. If it's not perfect peace, then we can see that's something to look at around bodies and bodies coming together. And he says specifically, and so we can ask him because everyone can hear him. When you join through bodies, it is an attempt to prove you are separate from your creator. You can just ask Jesus because we can all hear him. Jesus, is joining through bodies an attempt to prove you are separate from your creator? It is a desire for experience separate from your creator. The words used around sexual activity. See, these are clues of how consciousness plays. Just see that infinite light doesn't have anything like it called private activity. See, it's an activity done in private, or it's a display activity. We're going to display it behind closed doors. There is exclusivity and specialness. We can ask, Jesus, is in honesty of God, is specialness in sexual activity? Can we find a way? As I've said, as I was typing this chapter, I was asking him every single way possible. I had to, after you sit down with them and go through this, you just see it. It's a denial of divinity. Except for procreation, he says. and even procreation under guidance, under very close guidance from him. So it's not to make all the children of the world. No, Jesus doesn't say anything's wrong. He's just saying, let's just look at where the ego strongholds are. Where are we attracted and repulsed? And we all know those experiences of being attracted and repulsed by some bodies, different body parts, different parts on bodies. That's the play in consciousness. To deny that everything, all the sameness and wholeness. It is an act of desire for specialness. He says, trace the feelings back to source. This is the desire for the experience of shame and guilt. We can just ask them because we can all talk to him. Jesus. Everybody's going, I don't want to talk to him anymore. No. It's a, God doesn't deprive us anything. It's in the play of consciousness, sexual expression wants to express. He's just saying, see how consciousness, the play in consciousness of the ego, creates certain things as attractive, certain things as repelling. And the light neither retracts nor repel anything because it is everything. And so then the ego makes certain activities. God doesn't make any activities at all. He doesn't. See, the light doesn't sit there and judge sexuality. It's consciousness that miscreates it to try to use it as a diversionary technique. It's the miracle impulse of infinite love attempts to rise up and express, and the ego's plan is to take it sideways into some kind of diversionary activity to avoid seeing that love is in its totality. And it cannot be attained. There's no such thing as love making through bodies. What need would an infinite being have for love making? See, it just is, it's love itself. We're love itself. We're just seeing where the play in consciousness has us fooled into believing that bodies join and then there's an intimacy. Being all that is, that we're intimate with everything, with the totality of all that is. So it doesn't, infinite love doesn't need two bodies to come together to show that it's love, because love's already here. See, it's a miscreation. Trace the feelings back to source. This is the desire for the experience of shame and guilt. Okay, let's just ask, Jesus, is sexual expression the desire for an experience of shame and guilt? So we can all hear it when we just talk to him about it. The desire for the experience of justifying sexual expression. Got to do this. This is necessary. How many times, like in consciousness, did it play that way? Does it play? I got to get some. The wanting of it. The arguments, not getting enough, getting too little. It's not good what I get. Think of all the play of that. Got to have more, got to have it again. See all the gotta habits in that. It's always like you can see it's a seeking function. Ask Jesus, is this a seeking function in consciousness? It's a seeking function to try to attempt to prove that wholeness is not already here. I'm gonna ask them. So the desire for the experience of justifying sexual expression. to justify it. I know I wanted to justify when he was doing this going, and I could see that play. I've talked about it before, where there's a spiritual teacher that had quote waken up and was going, oh, it's okay, it's fine as long as you're in guidance. You can ask Jesus directly whether he ever gives us in guidance. Because I was happy then, because that's how it plays in consciousness. We want to find the reflections that are going to give us the answer we want. And that teacher's going, man, I'm just having as much sex as I can have because it's okay. But we have to go to the one who knows. That was like the proof serum. Well, then that means. But then if you start really having a relationship with the one who knows and see how diversionary it is, the desire to experience limitation when sex seems to be denied. How many arguments, like in couples universally, they're had about not getting enough, too much, not good enough, not doing it right. How many arguments within consciousness over that play when it's all desired experience? Anything that appears is desired experience. I'm going to go back up just a little bit, since some beings might not have been here last night. For any seeming movement of the body, you have only to ask me, is this in service to the will of God? Now, some beings might want to check out on the will of God. But since God's will is our will, then it's valuable just to look and see in any physical activity, is this a divine expression of the divine? And we can ask him, Jesus, is sexual expression an expression of divine being? Or is the purpose to experience specialness and exclusivity? Jesus, is there specialness and exclusivity in sexual expression? And just ask them. It's like, this is ruining my day. No, it's actually, I've gotten a tremendous amount of reflection from beings who've seen this and have said to me, God, I always suspected this was true. I've known this is true. I've known this is true. But again, we have to look at both sides of it. Anything in consciousness that we're attracted to or repelled by, because form isn't real. So we're being attracted to something that's not real. And there can only be guilt in that, because we'll feel split. And when we feel split, we're being attracted to the idea we have of who we are and who we think the other being is. Look closely at all the desires around the body. The desire to experience others is attracted to you. See the body identification in that, like how he talks about dressing up the body and decorating the body. What's the decorating of the body for? Unless it's for attracting others. See, others. Now, it's not to say we might like put on a pair of earring, it's just to see what's it for again, when we dress up or wear clothes or shave or however that appears. What's it for? and to start seeing how much there is in attracting other bodies, attracting the opposite sex per se. The desire to experience others is attracted to you. Jesus, is there, let's just ask him. Jesus, is there a desire to experience others is attracted to me below my level of awareness? See, does that generate a little other? See, that's a place where we could never be happy, attracting others. It's a play in consciousness. In truth, is it truly possible there are others out there to be attracted to me? The desire to be attracted to some bodies, as we said, and repelled by others. This is really getting very deep into the Course to see that it's all a desired experience. Sexual expression of any type is a desired experience. Consciousness is very powerful and can generate all kinds of experiences just for entertainment. It's all entertainment. Ask Jesus. He says that's why you can laugh about it. He says, but don't be fooled by it. Don't feel that it can bring you anything other than pain and suffering. It's seeking in form. And whenever we seek in form, it doesn't matter what it looks like. We will suffer it. Feel through all the things that are required for a sexual, quote unquote, relationship or just sex. It's not just, it can be same sex, different, it doesn't matter. Any attraction to an object, it's objective experience. And just see the underpinnings. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so we looked at, do I have desires? Do I have a desire for an experience to be attracted to others? Have some sex, get the opposite sex attraction? Okay, is that real? Will you show me that? It says you'll feel unholy by that. You always feel holy because you'll feel partial. It's the experience of partial. It's not an experience of wholeness. Infinite joy and love. It's trying to get it. There's a belief that salvation lies in a horizontal plane. The desire to be attracted to some bodies and repelled by others. Let's just ask them. Jesus, do I have a desire for an experience of being attracted to some body parts more than others? Can you help me with a miracle on that? I mean, you can see the plethora of requirements that has for some kind of attraction, repulsion. I like this body part. How do you feel about this body part? How do I look in a dress? None of it's, it's just a play of consciousness. The light's not impacted, but because consciousness generates the characters, it generates the experiences, and it labels the experiences as good or bad. God's not labeling them good or bad. Consciousness has that little play. So he's just telling us, okay, here's how the miscreation works to keep you feeling trapped and always searching and looking for love in all the wrong places, which is a horizontal relationship. So Jesus, show me the desire to be attracted to some body parts more than others. It's just an opportunity when the attraction arises to ask them, is this desired experience? And what's it for? And you'll see how diversionary it is. You see how you start to see the play. This is diversion. Diversion. This is a diversion. A diversionary technique, method. Muji says this is throwing stones in the bush. You'll notice, like, you'll suddenly feel an attraction to find your significant other right when Jesus is starting to have you look. Not to look. Anything, it's not different from the pizza truck, but because consciousness loves that, think the whole consciousness play around sexuality and attracting bodies and the shape of certain parts and shape certain attractive things versus others. It's a death trap, he says. It's really a death trap. The desire to decorate the body for attracting others. We can look at that. Jesus, is there any desire to decorate the body to attract others? The desire for the right partner. See, the right partner, he's got to be the fit. I've laughed and shared this, like the list that in the play of consciousness of what a guy had to have, like, 6'2", and the list was so long. We can't ever find love that way. But it's just a symbol of trying to use form to support a sense of personal identity. What he had to have, and he had to be a professional, and it's like, oh my gosh, the list was long. Can't even eke and squeak through there with all of that. Desire for the right partner. See, that was the play to keep love away. But it's not the partner away, it's to keep love out of awareness. All the desire for an experience of another. This deep feeling of wanting and inadequacy, the ego made this to object to it, to revel in it, to deny it, to hunger for it, to experience death in it, to never get enough of it, seemingly, to regulate it, right? The ego's going to have a regulation plan. Certain types of sex are okay and not okay, and to deny the desire for it. How is peace found in this? I'd agree when you start looking, wait, there's no peace anywhere to be found in that. Object to it, try to get control over it. It's a play of trying to have control over other, which is a play of having control over ourselves or losing control. Jesus was talking about that a bit in the Urtext, to be taken. Does it see it? Is the light taking anything? Look around in the light, that play. To be taken over, to have an experience of an other taking us over, to feel out of control. It's all in the play. How can peace ever be found in that? We can ask Jesus and hear what he says. It just can't. The peace can't be found in that. Any kind of temporary pleasure, peace will never be found in it. You are creating another character. Ask him. Jesus, is sex creating a character? And he asks the question, who are you having sex with? That's a good question to ask. Who are we having? Who's the one? If there's only one, who are we having sex? How's that working exactly when you start seeing that the light is whole and complete? That can only be a desired experience. Your own miscreation. Who are you having sex with? Your own miscreation. It's very humbling when you start looking at these things because it seems so important. Like that was important. Like I'm not getting in a relationship unless I'm, that was the play. That's the ego's play. See how much happier when the energetic investment in that, wanting to have that kind of sensory experience is released to love, to infinite love. You just see what an itch, we all know the itch. That's a power play in consciousness. To relish sexual experience. That's just, and relish it. Does the ego relish that, Jesus? He says the ego would like to keep that for itself. Okay. Who are you having sex with? Your own miscreation. The character you created in the play of consciousness. Sex is a self-imposed spirit experience of limitation. Yes, I tell you what, Lori, on this one, I will open it up for questions at the end. Thanks for asking. This is one area in this book that Jesus said I could field questions. Well, yes, specifically because of the play in consciousness here. So he's going to answer them for us, whatever we want to ask. Sex is a self-imposed experience of limitation, an experience of wanting more and attempting to experience completion through an act of the body. You desire these body feelings. You are the source of all feelings. This is deep. It's so deep to look at this. It's so helpful. You'll see it. You may still want to have an encounter or however it plays. Just explore it with them and just see how it's never happiness. You see, it's never right. And it's temporal. It's temporary. It's an investment in the temporary. You are creating, this is so deep. You are creating another body to give you a feeling, to convince yourself you are a body. What?
That's wild.
But if you're taking the course and what he tells you in the course, this will be, when you really look, it's like, oh, you're right again. No body can give you a feeling. It's a play of powerlessness. You can ask them, Jesus, is this a play of powerlessness? It's a pretend to be powerful and then powerlessness. No body can give you a feeling. This is an illusion. So it's like the desire for an experience. It's something outside of ourselves can give us something through an experience, objective experience. You desire an experience, then it seems to show up as a body that is doing something that you have belief, that you believe has impact on you. You desire an experience of a body having an impact on you. You can ask them, is that what's happening, Jesus? This is wish fulfillment. You make up the characters with nothing happening, yet if you believe something is happening, you are denying divinity. So it's a desire to have something happening, a sensory experience. This is a denied divinity device within consciousness. Jesus, is this a denied divinity device within consciousness? And you can ask them. Again, everyone here can hear them, have a conversation. Might not want to hear them, but after he talks to you for a while and explains everything, like I say, the light doesn't have punitive. It's not light doesn't know what that is. He's just telling us where we miscreated consciousness and then miscreated sexuality and then are going to suffer it while we're thinking that it's just a great old grand old flag, it's the best thing ever. Like, no, it isn't. Not if you really look at how much pain is underneath that, because pleasure and pain are the same. And I'm asking them, is there pain in sexuality deep rooted? It's deep rooted insecurity, actually. That's deep. This is a denied divinity device within consciousness. Superconsciousness, there's a chapter on this superconsciousness, but it's a representation of the place in our mind that knows the truth. Jesus expresses through superconsciousness. And thus the Father, so he's saying him, Jesus, and thus the Father does not call for this in any way, shape, or form for unification, because what is unified is already here. Infinite light's already here. Loving, just loving, 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 loving. And the only way to be peaceful is not to be a heat-seeking missile for something in form. And you can see in any kind of sexual encounter, it's always about a future event. So with that, I'm going to open it up and see if there's anyone that has a question that they would like to ask about this chapter, because I know I asked Jesus a lot of them. Hi, Lori. Did you want to ask something?
Yes. Well, I'm grateful because I feel like we are going straight to the heart together in the fastest possible way. And I kind of just see the freak out. Just the, the bats coming out, the bats and the cobwebs and the freak out, the freak, and I mean that in a loving way because, right, I've created every experience, right? It's me. It's I don't even know exactly how to put it, but so I guess I just wonder if the experience, strength, and hope of the circle has been that it's just an intense kind of freak out and fear of like, oh my gosh, like if I really want this is the fastest way. And being right on that ride, like at an amusement park, you're going up and but I'm kind of like click, click. I'm like, so I just wonder if it's just normal to kind of just see the freak out. And yeah, I think that's my question. Thanks. Glad I'm here.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. Great question. And I might, if you want to stay on just for a minute, I'm gonna unmute because, yeah, you can unmute. for a minute. So I'm going to be asking you questions, but for all of us, thank you for this question, because here's the really cool thing that Jesus is teaching us. He's teaching us that the light is natural. Infinite light is what's most natural. And everything else is a play in consciousness, it's desired experience. So as soon as we see that, let's just say it sounds like the word freaking out, we can ask Jesus, Jesus, is there a desire for an experience of freaking out below my level of awareness?
Jesus, am I desiring, Jesus, am I desiring the experience of freaking out and blowing up and grand finaleing and hoopla and hula hoops? Am I desiring this, Jesus? And I really do want to know.
So is he saying that the desired experience is there?
I'm listening. He says, you're quite dramatic. Yes. With a laugh, like a grin, like, come here, let me hug you, like, yeah. So yes.
And so what does Jesus say about how to handle that?
Jesus, how would you have me handle this? Look for my face, look for my face, pause often, take many timeouts, as many times out as you need to just hit the pause button and hang with me, Lori. Don't worry about how you're gonna make your living, who's gonna reject you. Pause with me as much as you need to. And see my face and see my loving, kind, compassionate face. And see me beckoning you to be with me. I want you with me every moment. I'm here for you. Take the time to ask, and don't be concerned if you don't get an immediate answer. Keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. You've never left, but keep coming back to me to show you the way. Show you you've never left. You are.
Tell everybody what that is. It's so fantastic. What it tells.
That's the well, we've all heard of the peace sign, right? The two up. Well, the three, if you add one, it's the willingness sign.
Beautiful. It's really beautiful. So we're all in the So Lori, what does he say about these? Isn't this fun? It's so much fun. These joining sessions, we are here just to laugh together. That Jesus will tell us. It's the one function to laugh about all this. What's he saying about this rocket ship up?
What? Jesus, what do you want us to know about the rocket ship up? We'll see. I don't trust what just came in, so I don't know.
Let's just try it.
It's like Woodstock came to mind, just a field of love and gentle, and there's no hurt. There's no exchange because everything is. The peace that passes all understanding. Kingdom is now. Do not fear. We are one with the Father. All is given perfectly. All has been perfectly given and received. Let go. Arms wide open. Breathe. Notice the edges of light. Notice a new vision arising. The vision that always is. All is well. All is one. Now. Forever. Gentle. The lessons are gentle. And fun. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you for sharing what Jesus says. This is what we're here for. Everyone's in the Jesus God lane. And you can see what was beautiful about that W right there for all of us, Lori. What a demonstration of willingness to look to see what's true and to accept the correction quickly. See how quick that correction came in as soon as we go to Jesus?
Yes. Yes.
And as soon as we look at the desire directly, the desire for the experience, you see so many times you'll hear the mighties just go, holy smokes, it just collapses.
I don't even remember it.
Yeah. Hmm. Go for Jesus. Thank you for your question.
Welcome. Thanks for being.
Love you. Glad to have you join us, Lori.
Love you.
Okay. Hi, Dennis.
Hi. Well, this seems to be a lifelong thing for me. I think I talked about it a little bit before. Looking for love in faces all the time. And one of the things that was really clear to me a long time ago is that when somebody was spiritual, I was immediately attracted to them, just because I could, the radiance of the radiance was there. And so it didn't make any difference what the appearance was. I was attracted to that radiance. But also when the person was really good looking, I was all the more attracted, and it became not just the radiance, but also the attraction, the desire. And I see that doing with people here. I see myself doing that quite a bit. And I'm letting it play out. I know I'm consciously aware that I'm doing this. I'm letting it play out so that I can see enough of it to be free of it. But I'm not so sure that it's actually happening, because there's it's all of it. It's the whole. A big part of it is the attraction of the spirit. I think that's true. I think that's really clearly true. But there's also a really strong attraction to the physical and to the desire. And it's the desires goes out. I feel it really strongly. It's really clear, and I'm not trying to hide it. Even though kind of at first I was, but then it's starting. I'm just, okay, I'm just going to go with this and let it play itself out. And I'm really clear that it's something that has happened all my life where I'm not going to act on it. I'm not going to make something happen other than I'm going to keep the love going, because I'm not going to deny that part of it. The other part seems to just want to keep coming up and keep coming up and keep coming up. And it's a part of the pattern and the loop that I'm caught up in. And I really want this. It's really obvious I want this desire, and I want to keep it. I don't really want to fully let go of it, because I'm not fully letting go of it. And I don't know, other than I would really desire it. It's just staying in that loop. I think the spirit just makes everybody so much more attractive. If you see the spirit in them, they just immediately are attractive. I don't know. I think that's as much as I can say about it.
Well, what is Jesus saying about all this, Dennis?
Saying a lot. I think he's saying a lot of what I've just said, because that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
It's
What about on the pattern? What does he say about the pattern?
the pattern is the wanting to get love from desire, from sexual attraction. And a lot of it has to do with getting it back. The play has to do with, well, it's just kind of the normal male-female thing of play of wanting to have the love received back, the desire as well to receive back. And somehow in the midst of all that, there's this me that's being reinforced as a body. I know that that's really, really strongly clear, that this is all just feeding my self-image as a body and my desire to be a body and a person. So that's what's going on with that. And also it feeds guilt and to some degree shame and the secretive kind of thing about it. Just hiding it. Not hiding it now, but yeah.
That's beautiful because it's something that when we really look at it carefully, we can see the play, which takes us out of the play, really. And then the energetics of it, the wanting, then we just spend time on that energy of wanting with Jesus, and it'll burn out in the light of truth. It will just start to, using Lori's W, the willingness, then just to let the energy rise up. Again, it's not denying anything. It's actually starting to accept that there's a wanting more than God in the experience. Like you're saying, trying to find love through that experience and seeing it as a dead end. He says, when he takes us down to the point where we really can see how that the relishing itself, it's relishing. We relish it because try to get experience through it horizontally and let that relishing energy burn out in the light of truth, then these plays just diminish and just fall away because there's no fuel. There's no funeral pyre burning, trying to keep this thing on the red hot coals so it just pops up in consciousness.
And part of what I was saying before is that I've let it play out a number of times in the past, and what I've done in the past to end it, because I could see that what I was doing, and I knew I wasn't going to do anything with it. It was just a fantasy kind of thing. That I just would make myself overwhelming so that they would reject. And I knew that I was going to get that, and I knew that I was being rejected for the right reason because I was pushing too hard. And also I was wanting that to stop. And part of it, this playing it out now, is really trying to see everything about it, to get clear and to ask for help with it, but also recognizing how much I really enjoy it, how much I love it, don't really want to give it up altogether. And that, there's also, there is, it seems like it really is love that's there. It's not all desire. It's just, there is love. And Gary Renard likes to say that his what was it? His experience of being in communion with God, total communion out of the body, no awareness of self, just that experience of being with God fully, that there was a sexual dimension to it. And that seems to be the case.
Well, we can ask the light directly on that. We can ask Jesus because we can talk to Jesus. Is there a sexual? That's a concept. The light doesn't have a sexual component to it because sexuality is in the realm of duality. And when there's only one, it doesn't. The ego would confuse that infinite joy, but pure joy, it can be mixed. The experience is mixed. As we start clearing out these, we do feel more love, but we're so used to that play of pleasure, it can be mixed in there and confused.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So it just purifies out. It's through forgiveness. But the light just, we can all talk to Jesus. Does the light know anything about it doesn't have a sexual, it is just this very pure, that's the confusion of Kundalini energy. You know, the Kundalini starts, or the energetic, what that is it's just the energetic is freeing of the supreme being, the being itself is opening up. And what it wants to do, rather than fully open to infinite love exactly where it is, it's a play of diversion to go sideways into a physical experience. But light doesn't have a physical experience. It doesn't know what light, we can see that. Does the light know what a physical experience is? It's like oblivious, like infinite lights. What is that? We don't know what a sexual experience is, so we have to dream one. So in order to have a sexual experience, it has to be, because sex requires two in the play of humanoid sexuality anyway. But you can ask Jesus and just ask him, is there any sexuality? There just isn't, not in the absolute, not absolute reality. The absolute reality just is what is. It's infinite happiness, joy, unending, just joy. And no sexual experience can come close to that. We can ask Jesus so we can all know it. Does any kind of sexual union with the absolute? But we can ask him because we can all experience it. You know, we can all listen to what he says and then have a direct experience, because it's available to everyone to have this direct experience. But when I talk to him and ask him about it, there's no sexuality in there that he says for here.
I think he actually used the word orgasmic, and that's also what Persa was giving him a hint about what it's like, because he relates to sexuality so much. But she was saying that if you know what it's like to have an orgasm, it's 100 times that in terms of God communion. So, and that's just, I don't know, because I haven't had that level of experience.
Yeah. I guess he just doesn't communicate here in that way. So I can't really speak to that. The only thing, the understanding, like this love, this so infinite and so full, it's almost like not relatable to in a limited experience. Do you know?
So you're talking about revelation. I just thought of the word he was using all the time.
Or
Revelation.
Just total infinite, recognition that love is here, infinite love, infinite joy. Maybe it'll go to that and I'll be able to relate it to that kind of experience. So, and I guess we all have to just discover that as we go, however it is for us. But Gary, yeah, I'll just say what I feel like I can say that Jesus says for here, and then every being can ask him, is it like an orgasm? No.
Yeah.
Because there is pain under orgasm. I'll tell you that directly. I wouldn't have thought of it that way, but now I see it from talking to him and understanding the mechanisms of limited egoic consciousness and how it plays in pleasure, really masking tremendous pain. So I can't find that spirit would say that, for here. But like I said, each being has, you trust Jesus. He guides each being in the way they need to be guided. But we can ask them and have our own experience of that. It's so different from because we're so addicted to pleasure. Happiness as identity is just not the same thing as anything experienced in form. Because happiness and form is a concept. It's never It's just a concept of what happiness is. It's fun. But divine being just resonates as happiness, because that's what we are. We're happiness. That's all that's here is happiness. And as these energies just fall away, those wanting, desire energies burn out in the light of truth as they're released, then the resonance of being, the resonance of infinite love just moves in. It doesn't move in because the old moved out, really, but we can call it that. It's just like resonance. It's just a resonance of happiness, of being. And then we just keep looking and letting those energies release. And then we can just have a direct experience. So I can only relate the experience here, or what Jesus tells me. And again, it's for each of us to just look and and hear it inside. So it detonates that happiness, that infinite happiness without limit. But thank you for talking about this, because this whole attraction thing, really, until Jesus, I wouldn't have even noticed it without the Course, for sure. It was such a driving force, seemingly, in the life. And now I understand it, because it was always that deep seeking mechanism, always seeking something. And then when you actually look at that encounter with that seeking, it's empty. You can start to feel it's just empty. It's dead. There's a deadness. Whereas our true nature, we're so alive. There's an aliveness to everything. The true life. The infinite light, the infinite one shining. Happiness for no reason, like whatsoever. But seemingly amplified through the interaction with our brother. It's quite miraculous in that regard. Through us being together in these joining sessions. It's really beautiful. So thank you for sharing, Dennis. Anyone else have a question, or Jesus tell them anything about this? Thank you for joining us this evening.